Because if you have love and desire for yourself, you will realize one important truth, and that is fear is just another emotion. Now, this is a very important truth to understand. Fear is just another emotion. Fear is not real, it is just another emotion. All right? Now, I'm not saying that when the fear was created, the event wasn't real. What I'm saying is, now that the fear is inside of me, it is just another emotion that I can release. And if I choose to release it, it will no longer dictate my life. It is just another emotion to release. The problem we have, though, is that we don't believe that. We don't believe fear is just another emotion to release. We believe, because of this fear, we believe that if we feel it, we'll die. But that's just another emotion too. Because the reality is, the truth is, you can't die. Your physical body can go, but you still can't die. You can't not exist. Right? You'll just be in the spirit world, existing there, if your physical body dies. So even death is not true. It's not a truth. You see, the more we start to focus on the truth, the less our fear will dictate our life. It's our fear that dictates our life. Our desire to continue to feel that these false expectations we have are still real. We want to believe they're real. And while we want to believe they're real, we're not going to accept the truth. So, for example, if I said to you, I would like one of you, who's the most fearful about public speaking? No one wants to put up their hand. You're afraid of what I'm going to do with you next, aren't you? Christina, are you the most fearful about public speaking? I don't feel you are, actually. But do you want to come up and do some speaking for 5 minutes? What's the feeling now? Fear. Why do you feel afraid? These are just people. You know, when they're undressed, they still have the same bits and pieces. They're just people like you and I. So why are we so afraid of them? Can you see what we're afraid of is what they will project at me? Can you see that's what we're afraid of? And we're afraid of their anger, they're laughing at us. That's one of the big things, isn't it, for yourself? Like them laughing at us and being angry at us, being projected at me. And then how am I going to feel when they do that? I'm going to feel like terrible, sad, you know, like I just want to get out of here, I don't want to do this. I feel all these different emotions. I want to run, right? Because I'm afraid. I want to run. So what am I really afraid of? I'm afraid, at the deepest level, what I'm really afraid of, I'm afraid of my own emotions. I'm really afraid that I will feel a feeling that I won't be able to cope with by standing up here. Does that make sense? That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of my own response to what might happen. So the reality is, and one of the basic truths that we need to understand about fear is that we are actually never really afraid of anything external. We are really just afraid of what we might feel when that thing happens. So imagine you're in a plane and you haven't got a parachute and you fall out of it. Now I'm sure quite a lot of fear will come up in that moment, right? There's no out here, you know. The law of gravity works pretty good. It seems pretty consistent with everyone else. And you're there falling, and you're falling. You know your life is about to end, yes? Most of us would feel terrified because we have a fear of death. And so we're terrified. It's not going to be a very painful death because it's going to be pretty fast, isn't it, once we hit that ground. But the issue is the period in between, you see. We're feeling all this terror, aren't we? As we're falling, we're just feeling all this terror. And we're terrified of what? We're terrified of our life ending. We're terrified of our relationships ending. And in that moment, we're not coping with it because we're afraid of even our own feelings about all those things. That's really what we're afraid of. If you weren't afraid of your own feelings about anything, you would be able to do anything you desire, wouldn't you? So imagine you had a passion. So imagine one of your passions was playing the guitar. You would not be afraid of playing the guitar in front of one person or in front of 100,000 persons if you really had a passion with no fear, would you? You would do it either way, wouldn't you? Because you just had the passion. But now you throw in your feelings about being in front of 100,000 people. What does that feel like? There's all their expectations, all their demands upon you. How does that now feel? Now, you might be a good guitarist, but now, because of all those projections, you might just freeze completely because of fear, because of not wanting to feel how you may feel. You see, in the end, really most of our fears are all about ourselves. That's the thing we need to come to appreciate. So when we're afraid of discussing earth changes, really what are we afraid of? We're afraid of how we will feel discussing the subject. That's what we're afraid of. Does that make sense? That's all we're afraid of. We're just afraid of what might come up for us that we might not be able to cope with, is the feeling we have. God designed you to cope with all of your feelings. So a basic truth that I need to accept is God designed me to feel all of my feelings. And fear is just a feeling. So therefore, God designed me to feel fear, because fear is just a feeling. And if I understand that that is a basic truth, and I feel that truth, you see, you can't tell yourself the truth. You've got to eventually feel it for it to be true, right? So at the moment, what happens for most of us is we're yet to even feel the truth of that one statement, that God designed us to feel all of our feelings and that fear is just a feeling. Most of us are yet to feel that as a truth. We think that's true, and when AJ says it, we go, yep, no, that makes logical sense to me. I think I can agree with that statement, right? But when it actually comes to feeling that as a truth in your own life day to day, most of us do not feel that yet. And we need to get to the point where we do feel that if we really want to progress with holding on to our passions and desires. If we really want to follow our passions and desires, we need to get to the point where we understand here that basic truth that God designed me to feel everything, and fear is just a feeling, an emotion. That's all it is. Right. Marina, down the front here. And then